My spider sense is tingling. Mr. Lee, this is my review.
Yes, Peter, it is. But I want to add something in your review. For the viewers, of course.
Mr. Lee, I don't think the viewers like the bad guys too much. Perhaps you should go back to Feast and give that nice lady May Parker a raise.
A raise? Do I look like Norman Osborn? The only thing I'll raise is the sword. And hit you with it.
Mr. Lee!
A couple messages for the viewers, so pick a section, have a seat. Yeah, I know this is different, quit with the questions. Allow me a second, please, to make my first impression.
YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to another Pounds 978 custom video, and you are now in the negative zone with Peter Parker and Mr. Lee. This is Insomniac's PS4, PS5 negative zone Spider-Man suit design. Based off the comics, just interpreted different for the game. More based off the advanced suit, which is super dope. And someone asked me to commission it and I said cool, and then at the same time I was like, let me just make Mr. Lee because it'll go perfect with Negative Zone Spider-Man. Plus it was pretty easy to make. Mr. Negative, I mean, not Spider-Man. That guy was tough. But when you have them both lined up, they look great. You can see the color schemes are different because I didn't add any blue shading on the Negative Zone because I wasn't asked to. But on Mr. Lee, I took the liberty and added a nice blue highlight over the entire white suit. And I think it looks good. And I wanted to do it also to the Spider-Man, but again, I wasn't asked, so I didn't do it. They're both not going to the same guy. I actually sold Mr. Negative to someone else, and this PS4 Spider-Man was commissioned by another person who gets a lot of customs for me. Shout out to you, brother. The Negative suit in the Spider-Man game is one of my favorite suits to play with. It's nice and white, and it just pops when you're swinging through the city. So I was definitely gonna make him regardless, whether if it was commissioned or not. Happy it was commissioned because I was able to make him sooner than I expected. It was a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie, just because the detail and the spider emblem and the border around it, so to speak, just so it can pop out from the black that it's on already. And Mr. Lee was a custom I knew I was gonna make as soon as I saw the arcade body because it was already white, the suit was white. I just had to cut out the seam in the center and then swap out the bow tie with a tie, as well as the shoes, and then find a replacement head. Sounds like a lot, but it's more of a modification than a custom, and that's why it was faster than Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the web lines took forever, the emblem took forever, and trying to get it to match Hasbro's advanced suit was what I tried to do. I just took the advanced suit and tried to replicate that in black and white. And I think I did a pretty good enough job. I love how the webs came out. They're not too sloppy. They're not the greatest because they're white, so you'll notice any imperfection on it. So for all you new viewers out there, the left one, the blue and red Spider-Man, was released by Hasbro, and the one on the right was painted by me. Same body, just different parts. I used a lot of white parts already. Emblem looks pretty cool. Looks kind of spot on to the one that Hasbro gave us, so I think that's good enough. I really like the way Hasbro painted the emblems on the Spider-Man, and so I had no problem trying to replicate that as best as I could, even though I made my own version years ago before Hasbro released theirs. The reason why I just followed their suit was because if you're gonna have your own PS4 Spider-Man, you're gonna want this one to look exactly like your PS4 Spider-Man, and so that was the reason why I didn't go with any like my own thoughts and my own perspective of the artwork. I just try to follow what Hasbro already did. And it might be my lighting or the background, but the white looks very pearlish or like yellow or off-white, but I assure you it's like the whitest of white you can get. And I did want to shade it. Again, I mentioned that because I wanted it to be kind of blue. And so I didn't add the blue, I added gray instead on the lenses and on the border of the emblem. And I thought that was pretty cool enough. But I did take the liberty to paint my own face web design. I didn't follow Hasbro there exactly. I did my own thing because I wanted it to be more symmetrical and even. I was really satisfied with Mr. Negative's face. I added some blue over the black, and for me, it looks really well shaded. It's kind of subtle. You won't really see it. I mean, you might see it, but it is pretty subtle, and I like it. I did that sunshine fade, I call, when you shade from above, and so it looks really good on the face anyway. And I did the same thing with a shirt, but I wanted to paint it again just all black because I wanted it to match the Spider-Man. But again, they weren't going to the same collector, and so they're two different types of art. one has shading, one doesn't, and it's not that much of a big difference. But to me it is, because if it was up to me, I want both of them to look the same. Either they're both shaded or they're both not. Either or. So if we get a 2-pack from Hasbro, I want them both shaded, or I want them both not shaded. I don't want one shaded and one not shaded. That's my only gripe. Shang-Chi head works really well for this body. It fits the peg and it looks good as Mr. Negative. All you gotta do is just give it a nice paint. There is some black wash in the hair to give it some depth. And the entire white suit has a nice sky blue fade or shade on it. Again, it's so subtle, it's hard to tell on camera, but it is there. Here's a custom you won't get to see much of. This is just something that I did for fun. It's just some wolf hands and feet along with the wolf cap head and sculpted eyes to turn it into a gray symbiote Spider-Man wolf. Wolf cap head that came with Captain America. Hands, I forgot who these hands came from. It's a Spider-Man villain, the green guy, he's all green. But I used those hands because they were pretty sized well and they looked like they had fur on them. And the feet, I also believe came from him. Nah, I don't really sure. I had a bunch of loose feet lying around. But I think it looks cool. If this was a true character, it would be dope. But this isn't a real character. This is something I just made up. And I don't know, you could do that if you have the symbiote Spider-Man. But this is the only symbiote Spider-Man body I had. So I had to keep the body, and I sold the hands and feet along with the head to my buddy Jay Hernandez, who's a huge supporter of the movement. So shout out to you, Jay. 2 other customs you won't really see much of. 2 Black Widows I was asked to commission. One to look like the old school comic one, and the other one to remove the arms and paint an emblem. Back to the matter at hand. These 2 customs I think really came out pretty good. I'm satisfied with the Spider-Man and Mr. Lee, to be honest. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Which do you prefer, the shaded or the not shaded, or does it really matter to you? What do you think of each custom individually? Let me know all that good stuff in the comment section down below. And if you're new, feel free to give us a like. Subscribe if you want to see more of this type of stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.